All right, believe we are live here. What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to Redemption with Jaden, and Happy New Year. It is New Year's Day currently, and in case you weren't aware, I mean, maybe for some of you it's already January 2nd if you're watching on the Eastern Hemisphere, but uh, we are over here in the Western Hemisphere still enjoying New Year's Day, and hope you guys had a great Christmas, New Year's, spending time with family and friends and all that. You might be able to tell that I am a little bit congested over the last couple days. I've been just having some I don't know, weird stuff that's going around. Really hasn't been that bad, just kind of annoying. So hopefully it's not too big of an issue during the stream here. I've got my orange juice here, and also some issues if needed, but hopefully we can avoid those and not have to worry about being interrupted by my head. So what we're going to be doing today, let me go ahead and first of all share the link that I said I was going to share on the Discord, because people might not actually be up there yet. I'm doing this a little bit out of the blue. Wasn't super planned here. All right. Now we're officially live because it's been shared on Discord and nobody's watching right now anyway, so but maybe you're watching this later on. So anyway, that is enough of that. What we're going to be doing today, since it's a new year, starting with new things, or new I don't know, with the theme of things being new, I decided I'm going to finally fully check out and try out, at least for deck building a little bit, the new Paragon format, a fan-made format that there's a whole article on Land of Redemption that I probably should have put in the link or I probably should have put a link in the description, but I didn't do that, so maybe I'll remember to do that afterwards. So if you're watching later, then you can check that out if you haven't seen it. But there's kind of it's just an article from Kurt, who Kurt Hake was the one who created the format, and he kind of gives the idea behind it, why he wanted to create it, and what gap he feels like it's filling, which is that there's not really a good way to play multiplayer anymore in Redemption. I mean, there's no official like multiplayer format. There's teams, which has multiple players, but that's kind of different. So it's you have to have certain like types of decks built for teams, and I think people just don't necessarily plan on that. Like, you have to be coordinated with your teammate, whereas with something like Paragon, there are specific deck building requirements, but you don't have to be coordinated with anybody else. So it's, I think, meant to be more of like a casual format, like let's just hang out, everybody brings their Paragon decks, and you can play with up to 5 people, I think is what he said on here. You can also play with 2 people, so it's I think kind of loosely based on like Commander in Magic the Gathering, if you're familiar with that, which is just a very casual format. It can be competitive. There are people who play it competitively, but the idea, or kind of the purpose for it, was like you're just having fun. You're building around this commander and the specific benefits that it gives you. You're building your deck specifically for that. You get to try to do some fun things with that, and it's just a more casual, fun format, and it's a way to play multiplayer that actually, kind of, it's not meant to be super competitive, but it can be, and multiplayer is tough like that because there's different, like you can't influence, or maybe the problem is that you can influence the way that other players play the game and interact with the other players, but you don't really have control over that like you do in a one-on-one game. And so when you're In multiplayer, there's problems like team making and a lot more randomness with like soul drought and things that are, I guess, specific to redemption that make a difference. And so the idea for Paragon was kind of tackling some of those issues. I think there are some other card games that he pulled aspects from that Kurt is more familiar with, but I'm not familiar with those as much. I've played some Commander, so I know more about that, and that seems to be pretty similar to what going on here. So this is the Redemption or Land of Redemption tournament tracker, like deck builder thing here. So I guess you can see like the different options along the top. I'm in the deck builder, and Tim, the Land of Redemption guy, Babooni Tim, he added the functionality to build Paragon decks in this deck builder. And so that means that you can go here, you can just select a new deck, you can go over to the Paragon option here, and then there's also a filter with the legality, because there are certain cards that aren't legal for Paragon, just for like balancing issues and such. And then you can go over to this little drop down to choose a Paragon. I think there are 40 currently, or 42 or something like that, that they have started out with. I'm sure they will be tweaked and more will be made. They're not all like completely fleshed out as far as like balancing and everything. So that might be something that I'll try to look at today as we kind of go through some, if not all of these. I don't know. We'll see how far I get, but you can see this is what the Paragon looks like. This is kind of the central card or like characteristic of your deck. Everything in your deck is kind of built around this Paragon, this card. So this is something that will always be around, and it's like a static ability that will be around for your deck. So you're kind of trying to build your deck around that. So Abraham, Paragon of Faith. It says, if you play a Patriarch, take from deck or reserve the first from this list you have not yet taken this game. A Patriarch, a Judge, a Human King, a Good Dominant. Limit once per turn. So once per turn, if you put a Patriarch in play, or that also triggers when you attack with one. So if you play one from territory to battle, then this would trigger as well. And it's kind of cool. You get to take a Patriarch, a Judge, a Human King, and a Good Dominant, but only once per turn. It only triggers once per turn. So it's basically, in order to get the Good Dominant tutor, it would have to be turn 4 at the earliest. I guess you could trigger it on your opponent's turn. I don't see anything against that. It's harder to play cards, or harder to play Patriarchs on your opponent's turn. But I guess it's technically possible. But it might just be with, like, if your opponent plays Song of Moses or something like that, and lets you put some Patriarchs in play. But yeah, anyway, probably turn 4 that you can get the Good Dominant. And this is kind of cool, though, because you get to build your deck in such a way where you've got some Patriarchs, some Judges, some Kings, and of course you're going to use Good Dominants. And that's kind of the idea, is that you're going to be building your deck specifically around this ability, because it's always going to be around, always going to give you that benefit, and every player is going to have a similar benefit, similar ability that they'll get to build around and use. So then there's these numbers. There are these numbers in the middle here, which are kind of the indicators for the quantities of cards you're allowed to use in your deck. And so this means the 11 here, I believe that means 11 blue cards. And then you get 14 cards that can be other. So that's probably where your Judges and Kings are going to be coming into play, splashing stuff in. Then it looks like you've got 5, is that Crimson? Probably, or maybe that's 5. I think that might just be like 5 utility or like neutral cards, and then you get 10 black evil cards and 10 other evil cards. So they're kind of built to like not just be mono brigade. Like you pretty much you have to splash certain cards or certain brigades The base of it will be like black and blue, looks like. Probably because Abraham did a lot with like the Philistines or like Abimelech and uh, the Philistines that were in the area when he was just getting started, I guess. Uh, and yeah, I mean, he also dealt with some Egyptians and stuff, but I mean, you kind of have to make a choice somewhere. Like all of the paragons are going to have these brigade pairings that sort of make sense, but some of them just to differentiate from others who could have the same pairings will be a little bit different. So like, Judah here is blue and brown, so it's um, I guess it could be more related to Egyptians, but I'm guessing that's more of like a Joseph thing. Okay, yeah, because Joseph is blue and pale green here, so the Egyptians are now pale green, even though gold is, used to be Egyptians, but now they're pale green. But you still have 9 reserve or like evil splash slots, so you can still, put some gold stuff in there. But anyway, you can go through these paragons. It looks like Joseph kind of has the wrong thing there. I think Joseph and Rachel might be messed up or mixed up on their color indicators because it looks like this is more pale green and this is more gray. Is that for all of them? Oh yeah. Yeah, it looks like the colors are just mixed up. So, yeah, Tim, if you're watching, otherwise I'll try to remember to remind you later on after the stream here. But yeah, it looks like gray and pale green might be mixed up because that looks more gray than that does to me. Anyway, yeah, they're still in that order. I guess I think there's. Oh, does he have like every color matching? It looks like, yeah, because there's white, silver. Yeah. Okay, yeah, every color pairing, so that would be what, 42 if we're going with the current brigades, the 7 good and 6 evil that are currently being printed. So no red, teal, or gold. So yeah, it's probably 42 paragons. Anyways, that is what it looks like for the deck builder. If also Tim has the format resources here that you just for ease of access, so you can go to here, just the Paragon cards. So instead of like clicking through all of them here, you can just go on the get the PDF and you can look through them all. We'll go through these a little more and just going to look through some of the abilities and what you can do with them. But before that, I think it's important to go over the Paragon rules just to make sure that I'm familiar with them and you know where to find them. So yeah, 2 to 5 players. There will be a soul deck that contains all lost souls that players will race to rescue, so you don't include any lost souls in your own deck. He's got certain sets that cards can be used from, so Roots, Israel's Rebellion, Israel's Inheritance, Times to Come, the KL decks, and IJ, including IJ+. So, no Gospel of Christ, no Prophecies of Christ, no Lineage of Christ. A little unfortunate. I want to build some posty paragons, but I guess we don't get those yet. But yeah, all of the sets and other promos are banned in this format, which that's fine. Like I think that might just be for the start, and maybe that will expand a little bit. But I think it's good to kind of keep the format small at first, test things out, and then see what you can branch out into after that. Your deck must contain exactly 40 cards. If you look at all of these paragons, you can see that they add up to 40. Here's 24, 29, 38, 40, right? Oh yeah, because it includes reserve, so 38, 50. So you have 50 total cards. Your reserve is exactly 10. Your deck is exactly 40. So all of these add up to 50. And you can put any of those 10 in your reserve from the sound of it, except for dominance, I assume. Yeah, you just choose a Paragon, and then you have primary good brigade, primary evil brigade. So you've got gold and gray for Deborah here, and 5 neutral aligned cards. So that's artifacts, dual alignment characters and enhancements, dual alignment dominance, and then 9 evil aligned cards that are gray, and evil aligned cards that are not gray. So I believe that they can't even be like dual brigade cards that, like, basically any dual brigade cards that include gray would be among the 9 evil aligned cards that are gray. So if you put like, I have to think of a multi-brigade gray card from these sets. All the ones I'm thinking of are from the older sets. Is Begging to Go Back, is that gray? Does that have gray on it? I think it's gray, brown, and pale green. So yeah, like Begging to Go Back, I believe that would count among your 9 evil aligned cards that are gray. And then anything that doesn't include gray, which includes like curses, evil dominants, and evil fortresses, or I guess evil dominants and evil fortresses that don't have brigades, then those would be included in there as well. And then, so yeah, that's a nice little visual key there as well. And then deck cannot include any lost souls, not even Hopper. You can have up to 7 dominants. And you can't have more than 1 copy of any card in your deck. Looks like that includes no special ability cards or the characters and enhancements, which, you know, typically in type 1 legally you can use up to 3 copies of those that are single brigade at least, but that's hardly ever utilized, so not that big of an issue here. All right, so then multiplayer gameplay. The first player to take a turn does not draw 3 cards to start their turn. Each other player draws 3 at the start of their first turn. Play goes in the clockwise direction. Card that refers to opponent. Okay, so pretty much like same as typical multiplayer rules, except for the fact that the second player does get to draw. So it's the first player to take a turn does not draw 3 to start their turn, which I think is how multiplayer was originally, because I seem to remember like you choosing the person to your left to go first so that you get to draw first. But maybe that's just a teams thing that I'm thinking of. So, all right, your Paragon provides you a special ability that's always active. You're considered to own and control your Paragon. And like, I guess just to clarify, I knew some of these things, or I've kind of glanced through this before, and I've read the article, but I really haven't looked that in detail to it, or looked at the Paragons. I've seen a few people post deck lists that I've looked through briefly, but if they're not posting the Paragon with it, then I'm usually not really paying too much attention, because I'm like, well, I don't really know what's going on here, and I don't, have the time to look it up in the moment. But anyways, so we're gonna be that's part of why I wanted to like actually go through this and do it live, so that people can go through with me here as well. So let's see here. Where were we? You considered to own and control your Paragon. Paragons are not characters. Their names are purely for flavor purposes and not affect your ability to play a unique character of the same name. They have no identifiers. Paragons are not considered cards for gameplay purposes. They're not in any game zone, cannot be targeted. They're not considered good, evil, or neutral. So if you play New Beginning, don't shuffle your Paragon into your deck. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, they're kind of outside the game. This is different from like Commander or whatever for Magic the Gathering, or if there are similar formats in other games, I don't know. But in Magic the Gathering, like if you play Commander, you have to still cast your Commander, and then there's just special rules where if your opponent removes it, then you can put it back into the command zone where it doesn't actually do anything, unless it has like I think eminent is the key word, where like there are some commanders that say that even while they're in the command zone, they still have this effect. So that's basically what all of these Paragons are, if you're familiar with that. All of them have that eminent effect. They're not targetable by anything. They don't ever move. They just have that effect. As far as I know, they still would trigger stuff like like a search trigger or something, like on Abraham, when you take a patriarch, judge, king, or dominant from reserve. I believe that would still trigger like search abilities and whatnot. But yeah, I think that would be it. I'm gonna make sure that you guys don't hear me. So even though the Lost Soul deck, the Soul deck is made of 21 distinct Lost Souls, designed specifically for the format. Even though the Soul deck does not belong to any player, it's still considered a deck. So if you play a Lost Soul from a deck, it could be used to play a Lost Soul from the Soul deck. The ability that targets an opponent's deck cannot target the Soul deck because it does not belong to an opponent. That's interesting. There are some cards that say specifically like play a Lost Soul from opponent's deck, but I wonder if, I mean, in the sets that are available, I feel like there aren't that many of those abilities. Like that seemed to be kind of an older thing, because like playing a Lost Soul from a deck is shorter, and also it's just better to have that flexibility. Sometimes you do want to play Lost Souls from your own deck, and so like yeah, I don't think an opponent's deck or from opponent's deck has been used as much recently. But there are things like where you know like Lawless or something, or Ends of the Earth, where you reveal the top 7 cards of a deck and you put a Lost Soul in play. I guess that actually could work for the Soul deck too. Like Ends of the Earth, well, it's not going to be legal in Paragon format, but just for example, let's oops, I'm gonna add that illegal. Reveal the top 7 cards of a deck. So you could just reveal the top 7 cards of the Soul deck and add a revealed Bible icon to its owner's hand. There aren't going to be any, but you put a Lost Soul in play is the important part. And then you still get the negate ability there. So yeah, I don't know. It seems good. I think Lawless is the same way. Yeah, top 6 cards of a deck. So you can do that for the Lost Soul deck from the sound of it. If there are fewer, at the start of each player's turn, if there are fewer than 3 Lost Souls in play, reveal Lost Souls from the top of the deck until there are 3 in play. So just basically put the top ones into play. You know, you don't have to really reveal until, like, in the sense that there will be other cards that you're revealing that aren't Lost Souls. But yeah, so basically you just put the top however many until there are 3 in play. And then captured characters and token Lost Souls do not count towards this rule of 3. So they have to be 3 Lost Souls, basically 3 of these Lost Souls. So the specifically Lost Soul deck cards. Lost Soul is rescued, immediately replace it with the top card of the deck unless there are still 3 or more in play. This stops players from being able to block by playing Son of God. All Lost Souls in play, including captured humans and Lost Soul tokens, are considered to be in every player's land of bondage. Okay. So something like Death of Unrighteous would still work, or Suicidal Swine Stampede would still work to shuffle the Lost Souls that are in play to back into the Lost Soul deck, presumably, or back into their owner's deck if they're captured characters, stuff like that. So that can still be a block, and then because there was no Lost Soul rescued, and it's not the beginning of a player's turn, you don't replace those Lost Souls right away. So that's how there could be a situation where you have no Lost Souls available, and then at the start of your turn, you would get those, or that the next player would have those available to rescue. Okay, so then each of the Lost Souls has a reward, a special ability. If you rescue a Lost Soul, you must immediately use its reward. If you successfully block, you must immediately use a reward on any one Lost Soul in play. Okay, so also in the format resources here on the deck builder, there are the Lost Souls in color, and then also in black and white PDFs of both of those. These are what they look like in color, so you can print these out, cut them out, and then you just adhere them somehow, or you can just put them in a sleeve over other Lost Souls. So like, got a complacent Lost Soul here. You can just slide this into a sleeve and then put that right over the ability box, and it basically just replaces it, and they should be sized accordingly, I would assume. And so yeah, it's just going to look like regular Lost Souls, but these are all specific to this format. So there are some that are similar. So Grumble here says you may underdeck a card from hand to draw 1. It's pretty similar to Grumbled from the from the starter decks, where once it's put in play, you can underdeck a card from hand to draw 1, but you get to choose to use the reward when you have to use it when you rescue it. Although this one is a may ability, so you can choose not to do it. Or if you successfully block, you could choose to use this as well if this is one of the lost souls that's in play. Also, this I can make this a little bit bigger here, I suppose, too. There's also this Prosper one, so pretty similar to Prosperity. You can discard a card from hand to draw 2. Resurrect, you may resurrect a hero. Each opponent may shuffle a hero from discard pile, so fairly similar to a lot of the lost souls on the cards that are currently in the format or in the game. But there are some that are different. Build, you may take a fortress from deck or reserve. That would be kind of a cool lost soul ability. That would be, I mean, it'd be pretty good, but I mean, it'd kind of be like, maybe make it like Darkness, where like if you don't control a fortress, you may put one into play from deck or something. Like, yeah, be cool. Come on, we need that for posties. Reward, you may underdeck an evil character. You may draw 2. Each opponent may draw 1. Okay. Each opponent must underdeck an evil card from hand. Interesting. Like that one, I almost don't know if you would really want, because, once you rescue that, then everybody else is going to have a chance to rescue before you do, so you kind of want them to keep their evil cards to be able to use them. But I don't know. It's one of those multiplayer things where, like, you really don't want to take out your opponent's evil cards on your attack unless it means, like, unless you have to in order to, get the lost soul. Like playing Authority of Christ in a multiplayer game is kind of dangerous because, I mean, it wins you the battle probably, but it also takes out your other opponent's defense that they might need to block your other opponents. But anyway, this one, you may take a character from reserve. Okay, seems pretty good. You may underdeck an enhancement from discard pile or reserve. Underdeck a card from hand to draw 1. You may reserve an artifact. If you reserve your artifact this way, you may draw 2. It probably has to be an active artifact, I would assume. Hurry, you may draw 3. If you do, discard 3 cards from hand. Okay, so it's kind of the opposite, where you get to draw the 3, and then you get to decide which cards to discard, which is kind of nice. Release any number of captured characters. If there are none, you may draw 1 instead. You may top deck a card from reserve. You may take an enhancement from reserve. You may take a card from reserve. Each opponent may shuffle a card from reserve. So I like these generally, like how they work, in the sense that, I mean, they're pretty balanced. The stronger ones also give a benefit to your opponent. And I'm not sure yet who decides which lost soul you get. So maybe you get to choose, and or maybe your opponent gets to choose because they want to, get the other part of the effect. I guess I'll have to keep going for the rules for that one. But you may copy a reward on a redeemed soul in your Land of Redemption. You may bounce a character. If opponent has hand advantage, you may draw 1. You may resurrect a hero. Each opponent may shuffle a hero from discard pile. You may top deck a hero from discard pile or banish pile. Ooh, interesting. Okay, way to get your banished heroes back. You may take an enhancement from opponent's discard pile. You may reserve a card except a dominant from deck or discard pile. And so way to get more stuff back from discard pile, but no dominance. And you may take a hero from deck. Each opponent may take a hero from reserve. Okay, so these are pretty cool overall. I like the way that they work. There are some of them that aren't really great on turn 1 or like early in the game, like the copy or reward on a lost soul in your Land of Redemption. That'd be kind of a bummer to be the one that you end up having to get on the the first turn, or like some of the resurrect ones where you may not have an option to get with them. But I mean, they're good to know for, like, okay, I can put a character in my reserve. I can put an enhancement in my reserve because I might be able to access it through these rewards, even if I don't necessarily have a way to access it from cards in my deck. So that is nice because there's such a limited number of sets that you can use for this. The fact that you have these available as alternative ways to get reserve access and stuff like that, they can definitely be helpful. Okay, so those are the lost souls. You don't really have to worry about those until you actually play a game. So then, attacking and blocking. When a player makes a rescue attempt, the opponent to their left has the choice to block or to pass the block to the next player clockwise. This player may in turn pass the block to the next player after that, and so on. If all opponents pass without blocking, the rescue attempt is not blocked, and the rescuing player gets to rescue a lost soul of their choice. That's pretty interesting. Makes a little kind of mini game within the game, and I assume there's no like rules against like table talk and kind of being like, okay, I think I have a good block here, and uh, or you can be like, oh, I don't have a block here. Don't pass it to me because otherwise he's gonna get it for sure. Um, so things like that you could probably mention, but then also the other players will know that or remember that. Where if you're the last player in the turn order and you say, I don't have a block here, then they're gonna be like, okay, well I know that he doesn't have a block for me either, so I'm gonna attack this way. And I think that's kind of fun. That's fun with multiplayer to be able to do that especially in a casual format. In a more competitive format, I think there are aspects of that can be fun and aspects that are not. But I think as long as each player is doing what they can to like win the game themselves and try to avoid like king making kind of situations, then I think that's more fun than everybody just having to sit there in silence unless they're like taking an action and making some indication of like, okay, I pass, or I'm going to battle, or something like that. So yeah, I think table talk is kind of fun and casual. It seems like that's acceptable here. I guess nothing against it. Um, so yeah, that can be a fun aspect when you're choosing to pass the block. But it looks like also there's incentive to be the one who gets to block. Like if two players have a solid block, and maybe the one player doesn't want to say exactly what their block is, but they say like, oh, I've got a really solid block, and you're like, well, I've got a decent block that it might work. So I'm going to take this one. I'm going to try it because if I do get the block, then I get the reward on the lost soul. So there is incentive to be the blocker there. So I think that's a cool aspect, I guess, of the rewards, where you're not rescuing a lost soul, but you still get the benefit of using one. So that was a cool idea on Kurt's end there. And then it says the opponent, if any who blocks, becomes a defending player. If the attacking player uses a choose the blocker ability before any opponent defends, then the attacking player's choice will determine which opponent becomes a defending player. Oh, okay. So choose the blocker abilities, still super strong. Yeah, I mean, just like in teams, where if you choose the blocker from one of your opposing teammates, that opposing teammate becomes the defender pretty much automatically. It just makes it naturally very strong for this format, and I think that could be why some of the sets are limited here, because with the sets that are available, they've started to really limit the broadness of choose the blocker abilities. So like we have Jail, who can choose only if she's alone and has to choose an Old Testament male human, I believe. There's Titus, who I believe also has to be alone and can choose a New Testament human. So there are specific cases where you can actually use a choose the blocker hero in this format, but there's also things like Obedience of Noah, which unless you have a way to play it pre-block, which I doubt there is in this format, it would still only work to choose a character in your opponent's territory, because once they're the defender, then they are your opponent. So you have to choose a character from their territory if you're playing Obedience of Noah after they've already blocked. All right, then other players besides the attacking player and defending player may still affect the battle via dominance and triggered effects. So things like Unholy Writ or Christian Martyr or something. I don't know what all is actually. I guess, yeah, you can use Christian Martyr because I and J cards are available, including I and J plus. Okay, yeah. I and J cards are allowable for the format, so you can use those. And then this format uses. Here's the answer to our question. I skipped over this part. If a block is successful, only the defending player receives a reward, regardless of any abilities other players may have contributed to the block. So if I block in my, the player to my left plays Christian Martyr on the hero of the player across from me, then I still get the reward because I was the one who was blocking. That makes sense. Like like otherwise it's just kind of like, oh well, I used Unholy Writ on one hero and he used Christian Martyr on the other one, so then who gets the like? No, just keep it straightforward. Whoever is the actual blocker. Um, I think that means that you have to, like, before you can even use any abilities like that, you have to determine who's the block, or like who the blocker is. So like if, let's say the player to my right is attacking and the player across from me has Unholy Writ active and I don't actually have a block, but I think that they can use Unholy Writ to get the block, I can be like, okay, I'll take the block, and then basically just force the opponent across from me to use their Unholy Writ to stop the player to my right, assuming that, the player to my right is going to win otherwise. I mean, that's kind of depending on the way you look at it or think about it, I guess, it's either kind of a jerk move or it's a strategic move. Maybe it's both. I don't know, but that seems like that's the way that the rules are structured to be able to do that. And the rewards aren't like crazy good. I mean, they're nice, but they're not like game-breakingly good to where like it's really important that I'm the one that gets the block. But if I'm in that situation, maybe that's the way I want to do it. What I'm not sure, I guess, is if I choose to block and then I don't put a character in, is that still, like, am I allowed to do that as the one choosing to block? I don't think that like choosing to block means that like you choose by putting a character in. That's something that maybe I have to ask about and clarify. But yeah, that's something that I would be curious about, I guess, to be like, okay, I'll choose to block, I will not block, and then just give up a lost soul, and or be like, okay, do my opponents have any way to interact or to help out here? So yeah, that kind of an interesting one. I am excited to see if like the darkness, oh, actually, can you even use that? Is what promos are legal? Oh, you can't use the. Also use any promo card that is mechanically identical to a card from a legal set. All other sets and other promos are banned. So you don't get to use the darkness. And I mean, I guess like does that? I'm not even sure how that would work necessarily. Like once I think you would have to choose who's the defender first, like before any triggered abilities like this would happen. Like, so it's a player attacks, you have to choose if a triggered, or like all the attacks triggers probably have to wait until after the defender is chosen, I would think. Like, because let's say like hidden treasures. Okay, well, I guess this one is, if your prophet attacks, you may discard an evil enhancement from a deck, so that doesn't quite work the way I thought, but and this one says in an opponent's deck, so you can still just choose before your opponents decide who's blocking. I'm trying to think if there's like another example, but basically something that triggers off of an attack that targets your opponent's deck. Maybe there is nothing. I feel like that would have come up in teams already. And usually in that case, you just get to choose which opponent's deck you're looking at. But I mean, with the darkness, there has to be a defending player by the time the trigger comes on. So yeah, I don't know. I guess that would be an interesting one to figure out. Like, okay, when does the darkness trigger in teams? Another good question, I guess, that we're discovering on this stream here. Anyways, Okay, now to answer our Rescuer's Choice question, this format does use the Rescuer's Choice rule, so after a rescue attempt is deemed successful, but before a lost soul is surrendered, the attacking player selects the lost soul to be surrendered instead of the defending player. This allows the rescuing player to select their reward ability. Also means that you can take some rewards off the table for your opponents. It's like, even if I don't really need this one right now, I know that my opponent does, so in order to stop them from being able to use it, if they either rescue it or block successfully, then I want to get that off the table. You can do the same thing with Son of God. I am curious um, if you get the rewards when you rescue with Son of God. Because, like, here it says, if you rescue a lost soul, you must immediately use its reward. But, of course, Son of God negates lost souls. So that would be another question. I should probably be writing these down somewhere. This, I remember to ask about them because, I am interested in checking this out. So, first thing, does Son of God or other lost soul negates stop players from using the rewards? Like, let's look at the rewards. I mean, they're kind of like special abilities, but they're technically, they're just rewards. So maybe they're not actually. Well, it says each lost soul has a reward special ability here. So, I mean, it's kind of nitpicky, but I'm just going based on like what I'm reading because it doesn't seem like it's clear either way. Son of God negates and rescues a lost soul. So does it stop the reward from working? Or if there's like, I am salvation active that's negating lost souls, does that stop players from using the rewards? And then the other thing is when you attack triggers go off before or after blocker is determined. I think it would be before, but like the darkness is the one thing that I don't think really works in that situation, which makes me wonder how it works in teams. So that would be something that I'll probably just go ask later on. But okay, anyways, thank you for bearing with me on that. Let's go ahead and shift gears a little bit and go into looking at the Paragons and deciding one to build out on the stream here before we wrap things. All right, here are the Paragons. Like that's probably good there. There are 6 of each brigade, or good brigade, because there are 6 matching evil brigades for them, so all the pairings are unique. And I think I think you just print this out as well. Like, I mean, you don't have to print all of them, of course, but you can just print out the one that has the Paragon that you want, and then you can use that if you're playing with paper cards, so that way you can use that. It would be interesting to see if we get these added to Lackey somehow. I don't know if Lackey's really set up well for that, but we could probably figure something out. I mean, at the very least, you could just like have yours and your opponent's pulled up, and then you just have your normal deck loaded into Lackey. Part of the problem would be the Lost Soul deck is a separate thing, so you'd have to have like another Lackey like client open on your computer or something, like a separate account or something on Lackey, and then just have like 2 windows open at least one player needs to have two windows open, and then in the other one, they control the lackey deck as like another player in the game. Or the Lost Soul deck, not the lackey deck. They have the Lost Soul deck. Then you can just pull cards out from there. So you can get it to work. It's not the easiest at this point, but I don't know. Maybe if the format gets enough traction, or if people are interested, we can try to put something like that together. So, all right, we looked at Abraham. I'm just going to look through these abilities pretty quickly because there's a lot of them, and I want to figure out one to kind of build around. So, Judah, if your human is harmed, you may capture your patriarch instead. If you do, you may take a human king from deck. Limit once per turn. Okay, so that's kind of cool. Doesn't have to be a good king. It can be any human king, and then it's like a once per turn, like battle extension sort of thing, or like where you get to instead their battle winner, trying to remove your human. So it seems pretty strong. As limit once per turn, but I mean, still, it's like almost like a You Will Remain sort of thing, or I guess Vow for Samuel would be kind of the closer comparison. But you do have to have enough patriarchs to capture instead. But I feel like you could, I mean, if you have enough stuff to like release captured humans, like maybe you can play around that well enough. It's rescuer's choice though, so your opponents might be able to rescue your captured humans before you can get them back. But anyway, Eve, if your female wins a battle, you may play a human from reserve. While you have board advantage, if your female hero wins a battle, you may take a good dominant from deck. Huh. Okay, so kind of based around like females. Maybe you can do like some animals on defense, but there aren't that many like actual female animals. Or like animals that are specifically female. They're mostly either male or genderless. I guess stubborn heifer would be the only one that I can think of, specifically female. But if you're, so yeah, you want to get that triggered as much. Plus, you want humans to be able to go with it. So like crimson human females. You've got a few in the New Testament: Silly Women, Sapphira. I don't know, maybe there are some other synergies you could do with like animals and females in your kind of splash stuff, or then you get humans from reserve, and then here, while you have board advantage, if your female hero wins a battle, so that one only works on your offense, and you can take a good dominant from deck. And that's interesting. It's like you have to have board advantage in order to do that, so you're kind of like snowballing. You want to have as many cards out as possible, which I mean that's kind of it's what Adam and Eve were supposed to do, is like to be fruitful and multiply, and so for you have board advantage. You're being fruitful, multiplying. You get your son of God from deck, Eve's descendant, coming out from your based on what you're. Wow, words are hard. You can get son of God based on all of the cards that you've got out at this point, and that's kind of the reference verse that he put on here was Genesis 3:15, the kind of first gospel, or proto-evangelium, I think is the fancy word for it. But anyway, now we got Rachel, Paragon of Favor. If your patriarch is blocked, opponent must play a hero from your deck. Patriarch is blocked, opponent must play a hero from your deck. Okay, interesting. So they get to choose. And then if your Syrian enters battle, opponent must shuffle a Genesis enhancement from your discard pile. Oh, okay. So you get to, it's all about like getting value and recursion and all that kind of stuff, but you get, it's your opponent's choice. So if you just have like one really strong Genesis enhancement that you keep on being able to search for and keep using, that seems pretty good. Also, I think this is the Wanderer artwork, right? Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, I guess it fits. That might be Rachel there. The good old JJ Tissot artwork. All right, Ruben, while your character is in battle, if opponent underdecks a card from hand, you may release a captured character or draw one. Okay, so the the idea here is to underdeck cards from your opponent's hand. You can do that with, it looks like any number of times during battle, and usually you want to force them to do it. So you got Vain Philosophy, you got Persistent Pestering, because you're doing this with orange as well, and I'm sure your other splash stuff on evil is probably going to be some gray, some good underdeck stuff there. So that's pretty cool. I like that. I like hand def. So we might be looking at this one. We'll keep that one in mind. Keep Ruben in mind here. Joseph, if your Egyptian captures a character, you may take a Son of Jacob from deck, reserve, or discard pile. Protect your Genesis fortresses from opponents. Okay. The protection thing there is kind of cool, kind of nice. Protect your storehouse from opponents. It can still be negated though. Egyptian captures a character, you may take a Son of Jacob. So it's good synergy between offense and defense. The idea is Joseph playing with Egyptians, and it's just a character, so it can be any character. So like, I think this would work even with a Malachite Slave, which is kind of cool. Because Malachite Slave is Egyptian, and it captures itself. So you get a little trigger there, and to get an evil character out, and then also you can get another Son of Jacob from deck, reserve, or discard pile, so you can get them back. So that seems pretty cool. A little like capture synergy with the Egyptians, but it's super broad. Just captures a character. So Joseph could be a fun one there. Titus, Paragon of Order. Each upkeep, if you have no redeemed souls, each player must play a New Testament human from deck. If your Greek character wins a battle, choose any number of players that each draw 1. Oh, this is cool. Okay. Yeah. If you have no redeemed souls, each player must play a New Testament human from deck. So here's where, like, the choose the blocker thing with Titus, the roots version comes in handy. Is like, if your opponent has a New Testament human, they have to put one in play. And so, you're probably going to get like your Priest of Zeus or one of your good heroes or something, but your opponent, they might have to put out something that they splashed in that they were, thinking would be a little more situational if they're in a mostly Old Testament deck or something like that. But they might also just not have any targets, so, not that big of a deal, because then they're just not getting value. Or they are playing NT humans and they are going to get some good value from it, and, you'll just have to deal with that. But it's only if you have no redeemed souls, so it's only early in the game. It kind of enables your choose the blocker on Titus there, and then if your Greek character wins a battle, choose any number of players, each draw 1. So good A-bomb triggers and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's cool, and it's you choose any number of players, so you can just target whoever you want to. I like that. Zadok, while you control a high priest, your enhancements cannot be prevented. Oh, okay. That seems pretty good. I mean, like, you can just build, kind of around Zadok, who prevents enhancements, and you can do that with, like, brown stuff, too, pretty easily. So, you've got Job's Wife, Selfish Kinsman from the IJ decks. I guess Job's Wife is not legal in this format. Sorry, I have to keep track of all these things, but there are other cards that prevent enhancements that you can just really make this a little lopsided in your favor, and then you can play cards like, well, I was gonna say you can play cards like the Cross and Colosseum, but those aren't in the card pool either. So, toss the negated stuff. But there's also just fewer cards that cannot be negated or cannot be prevented on them in these sets specifically that you can use. So it just seems like it would be pretty strong there. You can put like the Strong Angel in there and splash some silver with your clay. That seems pretty good. Lots of stuff that you could do there, I think, with the kind of splashed brigades. So Zadok seems like a pretty strong one, for fairly simple as far as the like ability, but it's if he added anything more, it'd be OP, I think. So that's cool. Phineas, Paragon of Zeal. Characters you control have first strike. If you banish an artifact or discard an opponent's evil character, you may draw 1. Okay. Banish an artifact. That seems kind of tricky to do, but I guess, well, no, I guess, yeah, Crimson. You can use some Edomites and so like Hadad, the um, not the exiled ruler of Avith. He would be, a way to banish an artifact. I'm sure there are others. Maybe you can banish them from your opponent's deck if you're just. What cards am I thinking of? Maybe that's it. I don't know. But anyways, yeah, characters you control have first strike. It seems also good with like, if you have fight by the numbers kind of abilities. And then if you banish an artifact or discard an opponent's evil character. So there's, plenty of ways you can discard characters, Zeal for the Lord probably being the kind of main one. Then you get a draw one. And it is just an opponent's evil character. So if you discard more than one at a time, I think you get to draw multiple cards. Which, I mean, I don't think that's OP or anything, but yeah, seems good. Alright, Aaron, Paragon of Priesthood. Your priests cannot be prevented unless an idol is in play. If your Tabernacle Priest wins a battle, you may take a Tabernacle Priest or Tabernacle Artifact from deck or reserve. So, this seems like this is kind of meant to work with like Holy of Holies, and then also make it work for your evil priests. Going to be like Gray for, Aaron's sons and stuff like that. Unless an idol is in play, so it's unless they're doing the naughty stuff that they weren't supposed to, then yeah, they can still work through Holy of Holies. I think that's pretty cool, pretty flavorful. And then you can get Tabernacle Priests or artifacts from deck or reserve. So very Tabernacle Priest focused. Yeah, I think kind of a fun one. Doesn't seem like crazy good, but I mean, you can play around it with Holy of Holies and Pact with Death. That both seem like they would have good synergy with this, and in a multiplayer format, those are even better because I mean you're going against multiple players and trying to hinder all of them, but also it means that your opponents are also going to have to block your other opponents, and so that might make it more difficult, but you're also making it more difficult for them to rescue. So it's balanced, I think. It still kind of leans into your favor, I think. So, all right, now we've got Claudia. Protect anti-heroes and territory from harm. Your character's banned abilities cannot be interrupted. Okay, I wonder if this is just on characters. I think so. It's just the characters' banned abilities that cannot be interrupted. Not like the enhancements that they play. That would be my assumption, but I'm not positive on that. But yeah, protect anti-heroes and territory from harm. That also protects from like your own evil stuff, which is kind of nice. So you can, you're an orange, you could do like Dragon's Wrath and stuff like that, and have this CBN protection. Yeah, it seems pretty good. Just go like big banding and then end it with a fight by the numbers hero or something like that. So like Claudia banded to Strong Angel or something. I don't know. Seems cool. All right, we got Melchizedek, Paragon of Blessing. While you control a king, your Genesis characters are protected from opponent's artifacts. If your priest wins a battle, you may shuffle a Genesis card from discard pile. One seems just kind of generic, a little flavorful with the protection from opponent's artifacts. Are there enough like artifacts to really matter with that? I don't know, but and he's also with pale green, which it's just like if you have to make all of the pairings, like there are going to be some that maybe aren't super obvious or clear, like Melchizedek. I would maybe think of him as being more paired with like black because of the the Philistines being around at that time. But I don't know, maybe there's something I'm forgetting. And also, I mean, Titus definitely makes sense. You want to have Greeks with the Titus stuff, so not a complaint there. It's just a like this. I mean, this kind of works. The fact that Genesis characters, pale green, you've got some stuff in there. You can work with Egyptians, and I mean they were obviously around at that time. Melchizedek too, so It's not a lack of flavor there, I don't think. All right, Rahab, getting on to the gold heroes, or paragons, I should say. Rahab, if your human Canaanite is harmed, you may underdeck a good Joshua card from hand instead. Limit once per turn. If your Joshua hero attacks, you may bounce a character you own. Okay, that's interesting. So it's kind of similar to Judah, except did Judah work for? Yeah, Judah works for humans, or just for humans. So yeah, it would work for offense and defense. And Rahab is the same. It just has to be human Canaanites, which there aren't that many on offense, but yeah, you can do like um, who's the one guy, the one king, King Hiram. He's a Canaanite, and I don't think there are any others in rotation, but of course, Rahab, but other than that, yeah, it seems pretty good. So this is going to mostly be helpful for your defense, which kind of makes sense, as Rahab was a Canaanite. She was natively from Jericho, but then also helped out the spies, of course, and ended up being pretty significant, I guess, in the being in the line of Christ and all that, kind of assimilating with the Israelites. And here, if your Joshua hero attacks, you may bounce a character you own. Okay, so you can like reset your Canaanites and stuff that you've given to your opponent. I was trying to think of why you'd want to do that. Like, I mean, it has some utility no matter what, I think, when you can reset some of your characters if they're paralyzed, or you want to, if you've got flip characters or something. But yeah, bouncing ones you own can help you reset the Canaanites that you've given to your opponent. So yeah, that's cool. Offense and defense working together, lots of synergy there. Joshua, if you play a fortress, you may take a Joshua enhancement of matching alignment from reserve. Oh, interesting. So you play a fortress, so good or evil, and then you can take a Joshua enhancement of matching alignment from reserve. Okay, so here you can kind of see where some of the like balancing stuff comes in with these the numbers. So like you want to have a decent number of Joshua specific cards. You can see where here like Rahab works really well with Canaanites. So he's got 11 black cards and then 9 other evil. Here it's kind of the opposite, where he's got 9 brown evil cards and then 12 other evil. Because with Joshua, you might not really even want to have brown be your primary focus. I mean, like you kind of have to some degree, but you might want to use some Canaanite stuff there as well, so that you get like Tower of Thebes and can take some black Joshua enhancements, because there are some Joshua enhancements in brown, but not as many as there are black, and so I think that makes sense to have the numbers sort of distributed as they are, so that you can have some more flexible cards available there. So yeah, pretty cool. Also works well if you can like recycle your fortresses. So like Shrine to Artemis and other things that aren't usable in this format. But anyway, yeah, if eventually that becomes a thing where you can recycle your promised land and stuff like Joshua likes to do. Okay, so then Caleb, Paragon of Inheritance. Oh, I suppose probably also you want to have some evil fortresses, which would have to fall in this category as well. So that's part of why the 12. Okay, Caleb, if your warrior wins a battle, you may banish opponent's character of opposite alignment or take a card of matching alignment from opponent's reserve. Huh. Okay, so good warriors, evil warriors, doesn't matter. If they win a battle, you may banish opponent's character of opposite alignment. So that's pretty strong, I think. I mean, it's not like incredible in a multiplayer format, like for your offense, because if you already win a battle, you don't necessarily want to take out more of their evil cards, because then they're less likely to be able to block your opponents. But taking a card of matching alignment from opponent's reserve also seems pretty good. So you have that flexibility, so you don't necessarily have to do that. I feel like a lot of times if your evil warrior wins a battle, you'll probably banish something. If your good warrior does, then you can take a card of matching alignment from their reserve. But I mean, like you could use this with thieves as well, because it's, Crimson is lined up here, but there aren't really any warriors in Crimson or in Thieves, so it's something that you'd have to figure out a balance there. Like maybe you've got Thieves, but then your Splash Brigade cards are some warriors or whatnot. So yeah, cool things you can do with that. Deborah, your judge's characters may use judge's enhancements. Okay, that's cool. While your female hero is in battle, protect your heroes from evil warriors. Okay, yeah, I like that. I mean, it's like CBN protection, but it's only from evil warriors and only while you have a female hero in battle, so your opponent's gonna know. But if you have, like if you can, like attack with jail and choose your opponent that has a, an evil warrior in their territory, then you basically get that CBN protection for free. Seems pretty good, and you can also then play any judge's enhancements on them, which I don't know how many off-color ones there are in these sets specifically, but yeah, maybe kind of preparing the way for more to be usable or available. All right, Gideon, enhancements used by your meek characters cannot be prevented and are regardless of protectabilities. Ooh, okay. I'm not sure how I feel about that one as like from a strength perspective. Like it's kind of with a lot of the meek synergy cards where it's not really great because it makes it so that you have to be using meek heroes, which is not that bad when you've got, flip characters that have meek and non-meek sides to them, so you can kind of pick and choose when they are meek, or some of them even convert, so you get to use their ability and then meekify them. But in this case, we're talking about like, the I deck, or no, I guess that's a J deck, Samson and Gideon and Shamgar, and like just if you're not already preventing enhancements, which you're not going to be doing if you're just using meek characters, most likely, then making your enhancement CVP it's good, but not great. I don't know. Yeah. If there was like a way to prevent enhancements and then ban to a meek hero, maybe. And then also you have to find some meek characters on defense that you can maybe try to get some synergy with. But I don't know. Either way, Gideon doesn't seem like he's super strong just because the synergies for meek characters otherwise just aren't really there. All right, Jephthah, if you discard a hero from a deck, each opponent must discard an evil card from hand or territory. Limit once per phase. If you play a judge, you may top deck a good card from reserve. If you discard a hero from a deck. Huh. Okay. I mean, I get where the synergy kind of comes from. Jephthah making his tragic vow, sacrificing his daughter, it's kind of discarding a hero from a deck in a sense. And so that's kind of, I think, where the idea comes from, I imagine. I just don't know how many ways you're going to be able to do that with your offense. So that would be more, I mean, I guess like you're in gold, so you could have some of the Exodus and like mill stuff, Plague of Hail and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't know. Otherwise, it would pretty much all be relying on your defense to pick that up. Huge Egyptian to just specifically discard a hero from your opponent's deck would be good. Then if you play a judge, you may top deck a good card from reserve. Seems okay. No Jeshua in this format, so you don't get to draw it right away. Otherwise, it'd be all over it. Then it'd be fun. Samuel, if your first Samuel character in battle is harmed, you may add your first Samuel character with a different brigade to battle. Ooh, that's kind of cool. Okay, yeah, there's a number of first Samuel characters with different brigades. There's green, there's some white, and some purple. So yeah, lots of splashing you can do there. And also on defense, works out. There's some brown, some black, some crimson even, maybe. So yeah, I like that. And it's repeatability is kind of crazy, but I mean, you still have to have a different brigade. So I guess you could go like back and forth. So that's maybe a little too strong. Um, yeah. I don't know. That seems pretty good, but might be too good because it sounds like you could just go back and forth. Like, if they take out one, you just add another. If they take out that one, you take out another. And as long as you have enough big First Samuel characters of different brigades, which there maybe aren't that many of, but might be enough. I don't know. Or some like banding and stuff. And it's not your last First Samuel character in battle too. So like if you've got two First Samuel characters in battle, you can choose which one it triggers off of, or actually if they play discard all heroes in battle and you have two in battle, I think that means you can trigger it for both of them. I would assume. So then you could add two more characters to battle. That seems pretty good, yeah. I have to keep that one in mind too. Ruben and Samuel so far are, I think, my top, the ones that are piquing my interest. Jeremiah, if your prophet is captured or fails a rescue attempt, reserve 2 enhancements from discard pile and take an evil enhancement with a Jeremiah or Lamentations reference from reserve, limit once per turn. There's a lot to that. Okay. Break it down a little bit. Your prophet is captured or fails a rescue attempt, so that could be good or evil prophet. You got brown, so there's some evil prophets that you could be using. Reserve, or some false prophets, but they're still considered prophets. Lying prophet, false leaders, so on. Reserve 2 enhancements from discard pile, so lots of recycling, and take an evil enhancement with a Jeremiah or Lamentations reference from reserve. They have to figure out how to like capture your own stuff really to make this reliable. I mean, it's a pretty strong ability, I guess, like to be able to get 2 enhancements back, and then you get to put one directly into your hand, an evil enhancement directly into your hand. But it's not like super easy to trigger. I mean, I guess like you got to follow man. You could use imprisoned prophet to capture itself, but otherwise, there's not a lot that really makes sense, I guess, to like use for self-capture stuff or like capturing characters in your territory. But I don't know, maybe you can make something work. I guess Raiders Camp isn't in the format either, so yeah, that's gonna be the tricky part for me, is building a deck with just the cards in the format and thinking of all these other cards and like, oh, I wish I could use that. But, okay, David, each upkeep if you control a First Samuel card and a Second Samuel card, you may take a card with David in the title from deck, reserve, or discard pile. Okay. So this doesn't count itself. It's not a card. So even though it's First Samuel, it doesn't count itself. Also, do the Lost Souls have special abilities? Yeah, they all have a good and an evil. Or, sorry, an Old Testament and a New Testament reference here. Wow. None of them are First or Second Samuel though. So even though the Lost Souls are in all of your land of bondages, like in every territory, none of them are First or Second Samuel, so they're not going to count for David. But I mean, both your good and evil cards can count, and basically it's just all about having cards with David in the title from deck, reserve, or discard pile. Which, I mean, there's definitely quite a few of those. They're a little bit limited because of the card pool, but I mean, there's a lot in the more recent sets, so yeah, that'd be kind of cool. David's servants for Edomites here, and for Moabites, I guess, too, but they're not in, I think that's Fall of Man, so not this format. All right, let's go to Hannah here. If your hero withdraws from battle, you may add a hero match and brigade from deck to battle. Your abilities that target an opponent's hand are regardless of protect abilities. Ooh, all right. now we're talking again. Your abilities that targets an opponent's hand are regardless of protect abilities. That, yeah, there's gotta be some fun stuff you can do with that. And then also, like, if your hero withdraws from battle, you may add a hero match and brigade from deck to battle. Like, that's kind of fun. So it's, I mean, built around like the green starter deck Hannah, who looks at your opponent's hand, and then you can choose to withdraw her from battle. And so it's pretty much exactly, what you want for this ability. Make it ROP and tutor another green hero. I'm trying to think of what the like matching gross what the matching ability or card is from the other starter deck that would also let you withdraw your hero, because there aren't that many heroes in this format, I think, that would let you withdraw your own hero. But yeah, I guess if you like choose Goliath to block or something, you're withdrawing your heroes. I don't know. Yeah, that's a cool one. All right, I'm going to try to go a little bit faster here. Don't want to spend too much time on this, especially if I want to try to build something in a reasonable amount of time here. All right. Malachi. If your minor prophet is blocked, you may reveal your hand to draw one. Huh, okay. If your evil character wins a battle, you may discard it to take a post-exilic hero. Hey, there we go. Or a good OT fortress from discard pile. How many post-exilic heroes do we actually have in here? I mean, we've got, I think, all three of the prophets, right? Malachi, Haggai. No, Haggai's not in there. Malachi and Zechariah. Is that it? And then a few from Roots, Jaden and Baruch. I think that might be it. So this one, maybe needs a little bit more in the card pool to get there. But I mean, it can work well with minor prophets. Reveal your hand, draw one. Seems reasonable. It is reveal, so it gets shown to everybody. And getting your OT fortress from discard pile. We like that. Get that judge's seat back, so that's always fun. Okay, let's look at Nathan here. If your lone prophet attacks or your human king blocks, reveal the bottom card of each player's deck. Discard the evil cards. If one or more are discarded, you may draw one. If your lone prophet attacks or your human king blocks. Okay, so you want... This is kind of like with the Syrians, maybe, is kind of the idea for the pale green defense here. I mean, I guess you could use it with Egyptians and have some pharaohs in pale green. Yeah, I don't know that there was necessarily the intentional like kind of synergy there, but you definitely have human kings available in pale green. And it's also like a 9 and 11 thing, so you've got a few more slots for your flex cards here on defense. And you're revealing the bottom card of each player's deck. Just trying to think of like what other synergies you could use with that. Of like, knowing what's on the bottom of each player's deck. You're discarding the evil cards, so your own evil cards can be discarded too. You only get to draw one card. It would be cool if you got to draw one for each evil card discarded. That would be kind of fun for like, it would make him better for like the more players that are in the game. Which it's fun to have a few of those. I think there are some commanders that are similar, or they're better when there are more players in the game. So yeah, I don't know. Seems kind of fun. It's a unique ability for sure. Jonathan, will you control multiple warriors in battle? Toss all enhancements with banish or negated in the special ability. Okay, here we go. Yeah. We need that for our warriors doing some banding stuff. Toss in the scattered type effects, the bound before the fire, and the reap the whirlwind. I guess reap the whirlwind isn't in this format, but yeah, bound, and the other ones that do that in this card pool. Um, so we do have some toss stuff in here, even though we don't have the cross and Coliseum available. Also tossing the banish stuff, which is good because I mean the Edomites have some good CBP stuff that you might want to have a good answer for. And then we've got Esther. While your lone queen is in battle, protect lost souls from evil cards. If your Persian wins a battle, you may take a card from opponent's reserve. Huh. So it can kind of backfire a little bit if you have like Queen Vashti or with your Persians, um, because then you can't do like lost soul manipulation stuff on defense as well. But I guess that's not like a huge deal. Um, yeah, then if your Persian wins a battle, you can take a card from opponent's reserve. Kind of cool. Yeah, I like that with Esther. The other thing is like Esther already protects lost souls on her own. Um, but I guess, oh no, I guess that version of Esther is uh, not in the card pool for Paragon, right? So yeah, you have to use the roots Esther. Okay, yeah, I can kind of see that then. Abigail, if your human is harmed by a player, you may give an animal from reserve to that player's territory instead. Limit once per turn. If your royal hero attacks, you may bounce an animal. So this is basically like Abigail giving stuff to David to try to spare her husband's life because Laban, or not Laban, Nabal was being a goofball and didn't want to help out David. And so Abigail was like, all right, I'm stepping in. So yeah, cool story there. This is good flavor for that, I think. Good, yeah, cool animal synergy. It seems like that's kind of the idea here with the Crimson defense. And I guess also, I mean, you can splash some other humans in your defense as well, so that you can use this because it's your human harmed by a player, so it can work for your good and evil humans. If your royal hero attacks, you may bounce an animal. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what the exact synergy is supposed to be there, but I guess some of the animals that like are dual icon are like good enhancements and evil characters, if there are any in this format that you can use. They can block as the animal and then get the good enhancement back to be able to play. Abishai, protect your equipped warriors from opponent's artifacts. If your warrior wins a battle, you may shuffle a weapon from discard pile and or a weapon from reserve. Okay, it's a good way to recycle your weapons or to get them out of your reserve. And protecting them from opponent's artifacts be good. Yeah, protects them in territory too, so it can stop like the going to captivity and deserving scorn and all those things that the players can activate, outside of battle as well as in battle with some specific cards. So it seems pretty good. Peter, your gospel characters cannot be prevented and may use NT enhancements. Wow. Okay, that seems pretty good. That works for your good and evil gospel characters. So it's basically like thieves, but on steroids, that they can use any NT enhancement regardless of brigade. So if you're taking stuff from your opponent, as long as it's New Testament, you can still use it. But it is limited to only New Testament stuff, so it's not going to work with your opponent's Old Testament stuff, which there definitely are more Old Testament themes available here, Paragons available here. So there's probably going to be more Old Testament enhancements going around. But yeah, probably some cool stuff that you can do with the NT enhancement availability and also making them CBP, which is pretty good. So like Andrew is a GOC card, so you can't use it in this format. This is like the theme of this video. Like, this is cool, but I can't use the cards I want to, which is fine. Like, I'm not opposed to that. I'm fine with the kind of the incremental growth there. Also, I'm just realizing that the like purple is used for the, or like the good brigade is used for the name and the ability, and the background is used for the or the evil brigade is used for the background. I just put that together now. So if you didn't notice either, then you know. All right, Benaya, your human warriors may use weapons regardless of brigade. If you discard an opponent's warrior, you may take a weapon that was equipped to it. Okay, this is cool. I like this as well. This is kind of fun. Um, doing like mixing and matching of weapons, and the fact that they can use them regardless of brigade, like this ability, the fact that it's like a static, ongoing effect means that you can equip them in territory, as far as I know, or as I can tell. So you can equip weapons off brigade even in territory, which seems pretty cool. They do still have to match the alignment because they don't convert automatically, but yeah, I like it. That seems fun. Zechariah, if you play an enhancement with a band ability, you may add a character or matching brigade from reserve to battle. Each upkeep, you may reserve a generic angel from discard pile. This is cool because like there aren't really specific angels that have like themes that would be easy to like build around. Like angels have always been more of a supporting brigade than kind of their own brigade. And of course, there are some decks like angel decks that are just like straight silver that are good and have done well. Be a little more in type 2 than in type 1, but yeah, it would be. I'm a little bit surprised there's no like Gabriel or Michael here, but you can see that like these guys are all themes where like either they had experiences with angels or have some like synergies with angels, where like Job, he wasn't really around any other people, or at least any other good people. So like he's always been kind of like a only one human hero kind of synergy thing like going on. So he's been played with angels historically, and of course these other guys had kind of spiritual, sometimes angelic experiences as well. So I wonder if the band ability here, if you play an enhancement with a band ability, you may add a character matching brigade from reserve to battle. Is that matching brigade to the banding card? Probably, I would assume so. The enhancement with the band ability, you have to add a character with matching brigade to the enhancement from reserve to battle, which is kind of cool. I mean, and that's offense and defense, so you can add a character, a matching brigade from reserve to battle. So you can just load up your reserve with a bunch of characters and putting some banding cards. Seems pretty good. Then each upkeep you may reserve a generic angel from discard pile. Okay, so some generic angels that could be used with Zechariah. So we've got Surveying Spirit, Patrollers of the Earth, some of the new ones that are Zechariah themed. You'll be able to use those. Cool. All right, Job, Paragon of Patience. Restrict players from attacking during the first round of the game. While you control exactly one human hero, protect your characters from opponent's band, banish, capture, and convert abilities. Okay, so lots of just protection, and then players from attacking during the first round of the game. Okay, that's cool, kind of unique. It's like a way to slow down the game a little bit, and that's kind of what Job is going to want to do. You're not going to have like a super strong attack on turn 1 probably, because you're only going to have one human hero. Maybe you have like some angels that could be good for like setup and that kind of thing, but for the most part, I think you kind of want your the game to kind of slow down so that you can get your thing set up, your Job set up, and then yeah, that's a lot to protect from, and that's also like your evil characters too. So like your characters, good and evil, from opponents' band, banish, capture, and convert abilities. So yeah, that seems pretty strong. I don't mind that. It's definitely like a good like even if you go first kind of turn, like you don't get to draw 3 at the beginning of your first turn, but you're not going to get to attack anyway. Nobody is. So you are the first player who's going to be able to get to attack after having drawn 3. Which, so yeah, it seems pretty good. Okay, we're almost there. Ezekiel, if your Babylonian blocks or your Ezekiel hero is blocked, opponent may top deck an evil card from hand. If they do not, you may resurrect a hero or take an Ezekiel enhancement from deck. Okay, so opponent may top deck an if they do not, you can resurrect a hero or take an Ezekiel enhancement from deck. Okay, it seems pretty good. It's just kind of a way to get your enhancements out. I wonder how many evil Ezekiel enhancements there are now. I can't think of any or too many off the top of my head, but yeah, I don't know. Seems decent. Nothing crazy, but still solid. Jacob, if your OT Angel wins a battle, you may take a Patriarch from deck. If your human is harmed or defeated by an opponent, you may underdeck it instead. Okay, so just a way to like keep your characters rolling or keep them alive. That's quite the ability to have like during the beginning of the game, or like, you know, from the beginning of the game throughout the game, because it means that you're basically gonna just never have to put a human in your discard pile or your banished pile. Like, you'll always be able to get it back. And then you could also like just, you know, get them back with your OT Angels winning battles. A little bit tougher to do. Like to, you know, if you're winning battles with your OT Angels, then, you know, you don't necessarily need your Patriarchs, or, you know, like it's, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that works out. Like, do I really want all my humans back in my deck? Doesn't actually help me like win the battle necessarily, so maybe not the strongest. Okay, John, if your lone angel or demon enters battle, it may ban to your NT human. Ooh. Okay, that seems pretty strong. I like that. Like, it's specific where it has to be angel or demon and an NT human, but it gives like your characters that don't have ban abilities. So, you know, they didn't have a ban ability because they have other abilities that are still decent, and it stables a ban ability onto them, essentially. I like that. Isaiah, if you play a dual icon enhancement, you may shuffle it. Limit once per turn. Your Isaiah character wins a battle. You may take a dual icon enhancement from deck. Ooh. Okay, that's cool. I wonder how many Isaiah evil characters we have available for that. I know we've got a few magicians and some like random Philistine Egyptian stuff from older sets. So yeah, I guess they wouldn't really be, or may not be as many in the current, or in the Paragon card pool. But the fact that you can just recycle your dual icon enhancements, yeah, seems pretty good. You are still limited by the number that you can have in your deck, though. So I guess, but that does count for like curses and covenants too, though. They're also dual icon enhancements. I believe they would count for that. So you could have, you know, some your I Am Redemption, your Covenant with Time, your Vow for Samuel, you know, all those covenants that, what's the new one? God's Judgment. So plenty of covenants, probably some decent curses that you could get in there as well, and then you can shuffle in once per turn. You can't, you know, shuffle something like Unsuccessful, though, I don't think, because it ends the battle, so, you know, it wouldn't give an opportunity for this to trigger. Also, Special Initiative would go before this triggers. So if they, you know, negate and discard an enhancement, you don't get to shuffle it at that point, I believe. All right, Boaz, we're on the last good brigade. Here we go. If you draw because of your good ability, each other player must draw one. And you may draw one. Okay. While opponent has hand advantage, Ruth enhancements used by your Ruth characters cannot be negated. Oh, okay. So it's, you know, kind of a way to, it's a little bit of like a group hug effect, but you get a benefit from it, which is kind of fun. I think group hug decks are kind of a staple or a necessity for casual formats like this, because there are going to be players who just want to, like, yeah, let's just help out everybody, and then maybe I'll win the game, maybe I don't really care. Like, I'm just here to have fun. And yeah, sometimes if you're super competitive, that can be kind of annoying, but I think overall, I mean, they're still trying to win the game. They're just doing it in a way that's, you know, a little unorthodox, I guess. So that's what group hug refers to, if you're not familiar with that. Like, how do I benefit everyone in the game? Like, everybody gets to draw cards, but I'm gonna, you know, in the end, take advantage of that the most, or try to take advantage of that the best. But also sometimes it can just lead to your opponent having all the resources they need to do their thing more easily. But, all right, Moses, increase your hand size by 2. If your wilderness human wins a battle, you may draw 1. That's kind of cool. So you get automatically a 10 card maximum for, or I guess, yeah, minimum for the number of cards you can have at the end of your turn. Not minimum. It is, yeah, you can have up to 10 cards in your hand at the end of your turn instead of 8. And then if your wilderness human wins a battle, you may draw 1, so that's offense or defense. Even with the Lost Soul rewards, there's still a lot of paragons that give you rewards for blocking, so you're not always incentivized to like pass the blocker or pass the block to an opponent if you have a decent block yourself. Kananaya, during battle, if you control 3 or more enhancements except weapons, you may bounce your enhancement. Limit once per battle. Your musicians may use enhancements involving music. Okay, that's cool. I like that. It can be tricky to control 3 or more enhancements. But on defense, you could use stuff like masks. Like, you can have Mask of Vanity and Crimson. You can have the other masks in the other brigades for your splash stuff. And then get to use those. And then like you play 2 of them and then your battle winner, and then afterwards you can bounce your battle winner or something like that, or bounce a mask. I think that can be cool. And you can do similar stuff on offense too. Maybe a little more tricky. But all right, Ruth. If your Moabite enters battle, you may take a Ruth card from reserve. While all your heroes in battle are Ruth heroes, protect them from opponents' withdraw, bounce, and banish abilities. So kind of similar to the LOC Ruth. And then obviously synergy with Moabites on defense, and you can get some Ruth cards from reserve, which are some gray or like Moabite Ruth cards as well. So good generic reserve access there. And then so some pretty strong protection, withdraw, bounce, and banish abilities. No capture or discard. Is there a Ruth that protects from discard in this card pool? I don't think so. I think it's just the LLC one that protects from discard, right? So, yeah, you get good protection there. Overall, though, a pretty broad number of abilities. And then Daniel, if you play a Daniel character, you may look at a hand, regardless of protect abilities, limit once per turn. Oh. Okay, yeah, that's pretty good. Like, it's just a free hand look, regardless of protect abilities every turn, so you can kind of figure out, okay, maybe you want to look at the opponent on your left, or maybe the opponent on your left didn't have a block for last turn, so you want to look at the opponent across from you, or like giving you more information the better. And you can also play other cards that give you hand information too. Seems pretty good. And finally, Miriam, if your Exodus character wins a battle, discard the top 2 cards of each opponent's deck. While you are attacking, restrict each player whose deck is empty from blocking and playing Evil Dominance. Oh, that's kind of cool. So yeah, Miriam's really the mill strategy here. Like the decks are somewhat smaller. They have to be 40 cards, but they don't have Lost Souls. So for one, you're milling cards, you're not going to hit Lost Souls. That seems pretty good. Also, each opponent's deck, and that's also Exodus character, so good and evil. So that can be pretty strong. You're taking out a lot of cards with each of those. And yeah, I mean, I guess like the end game here is kind of similar to like a cross or Exodus type of effect, where it's like, okay, I've milled them out. Now how do I just got to finish off the game. Somebody like Jacob is going to make that kind of annoying where they can keep on underdecking their humans, but it only works from if they're harmed or defeated from play. So I guess if you're discarding them from their deck, then maybe it's okay. But there's a lot of stuff that can recycle cards, like shuffle cards back into deck. So it might be tricky to get this to work, but overall, it seems pretty cool. So yeah, I don't think I'm going to really have time to actually build a full deck here, but I'll just kind of give an idea of what it would look like. You can see that we've got the requirements here. I guess I have to move this over here a little bit so you guys can actually see everything. So here are all the requirements for Ruben. to have 12 blue cards, 13 good aligned cards from any brigade except blue, 4 neutral aligned cards, 11 orange cards, and 10 evil aligned cards from any brigade except orange. So I'm just going to start out by going with blue, and then if we remember, Ruben, while your character is in battle, if an opponent underdecks a card from hand, you may release a captured character or draw one. So, I don't know, the, like, Forgiveness of Joseph, underdeck an evil card from hand, Issachar, so, like, this is going to be the, basically, Sons of Jacob, theme, like, Gad seems pretty good. And this deck builder. If you haven't used it yet, it's super easy to use. As I'm adding all of these cards, I can just go over to this main tab and I can see what all I've added here. I can take them out, or I can move them to the reserve with this button here, or just highlight the card there. Yeah, seems pretty good. You also have the option here in view to like have the card hover preview turn on and off. So if I don't want the cards to pop up real big, then I can do that. I can turn that off, but now if I turn it back on, then I've got the card hover preview when I'm in the deck like this. So let's just put a few more cards in here, and now we can wait. I guess I just need. Oh, okay, yeah. So that automatically fills in like 7 cows is now in the neutral spot there, tested by Joseph, and reserved for famine. Okay, so we got 12 out of 12 blue cards, and those can all be in there. Then if I want to, I can hide the search, and then I can just look at the deck laid out like this with all my blue heroes together, all my, right now, there we go. Now I can put that back so that you guys can see everything on this side. And yeah, so I really like the way that Tim put this all together, and the fact that this was coordinated with the release of Paragon just makes it super accessible and easy to use. So I'll probably be doing some building, some ideas here, and maybe at some point I'll figure out a way to get a Paragon game on the channel here. But no guarantees on that yet. To figure out if I can do it on Lackey, or if I have to just figure out a way to record it overhead on paper or something like that, which, I mean, that would be kind of fun too. But just have to figure that out with, people and getting them to my house and all that. So anyways, before we go, of course, if you want to build your Paragon deck on here, you can, but then if you want it in paper, you might have to buy some of these cards. And you can print out the Paragons and the Lost Souls yourself, but the rest of the cards, I mean, I guess you could also print out, but if you want to buy them to have them to play with your friends, you can head on over to Your Turn Games, who proudly sponsors this channel. At least I think so proudly. We're proud to be sponsored by them at the very least. And they are proud retailers of the Redemption CCG. You can go get your signals and also pre-built contender, challenger, champion decks. And I don't know, who knows, maybe if Paragon takes off, then we'll have some pre-built Paragon decks that you can buy as well. I haven't talked to Andy about that, so, don't hold me to it. We also have to see if this format takes off, if it's popular enough that people like it. But I definitely like the idea of it. I'm interested in checking it out. Commander is the only format I really play other than Limited for Magic the Gathering, and so I'm glad to see that Redemption has this in a branched out. I know there are multiple people that have had similar ideas to this throughout Redemption's history, like pretty much anybody who's played Magic the Gathering who also now plays Redemption, been like, oh, like, when are we going to have a Commander format, or like, how could we make this work? Because especially now that multiplayer is no more, Type 2 multiplayer always kind of felt like the pseudo Commander format of Redemption, at least for me. I enjoyed it. That was fun, casual, and I think that this could be a decent replacement for it, or like, stay in for it. I'm glad that Kurt, put in the work to get some rules hammered out and finalized. When, I think a lot of people have had the idea, talked about it, but haven't actually put the, the hammer to the anvil I don't know if that's a phrase people use, but haven't put in the effort to actually make it a real thing, make it work, like create all of the commanders or, paragons in this case. So that is very cool. You can get stuff from Your Turn Games to help them out, but then also build your own Paragon decks in paper as well, and try it out. Leave a comment, let me know if you've tried it, if you've liked it, and who your favorite Paragons are, because I know I've got a few ideas, and I'm excited to try them out and put them out there at some point here. Not sure when that will be exactly. We've got one more Wacky Grand Prix game that I do plan to record. It's going to be between Emmanuel and Justin. Those are the top two for the Wacky Grand Prix 25, which was a pretty big one as far as like prize pool and the number of participants and everything. So I would like to have that recorded and put out for you guys, if not live streamed, but haven't gotten that scheduled with them yet. So that is on the docket. But thanks everybody for watching, and we will catch you all next time. Have a good one and Happy New Year.